Love ain't going nowhere. It's what I'm telling you. Like, the one for you is not going to get away. You're not going to run out of time. None of that is going to happen. You can't think like that as well, because you don't want to rush through this. If you rush through this, then you're never going to be ready for love. Think about it. If all you're doing is just rushing and rushing because you're constantly, like, basically fucking up each relationship or a thing you get in and try to date. So that's just prolonging it because you won't take your time.
Excuse me, can I please talk to you for a minute?
Hey girlfriends, and to everybody else, what up YouTube? Welcome back to another podcast episode of the Hey Girlfriend. Today we are going to be talking about, basically, I'm still up in the air about what I want to title this. I'm thinking we're going to say dating after a heartbreak, or dating especially after a toxic relationship and trying to be in a healthy relationship. It's kind of going to be a mixture of that and like getting yourself out there, especially after you've been through all that and you know you still want love, you still want a relationship, you don't want to be, you know, a savage, quote unquote, or afraid to love. You don't want to be afraid to put yourself out there. You still want a partner, but you're just having difficulties because you may be still either holding on to the past. You may be still trying to get over the breakup. You may think you need to be fully healed. It could be a number of reasons why. I'm just going to go through all of it because, as you know, on this podcast, it's all about the girl that I've been and all about my experience. And I share what I've learned on my journey to help you all. And it may not be a fit for everyone, but, you know, I'm going to share it anyway. So, I first want to give you a little small backstory about me in dating and then learning to date again and now being in my first healthy relationship, long-term, and being married and all that. So, as some of you may know that, or if you're new here, you may not know. So, I'm going to, you know, give a backstory. But if you follow me on my Instagram page, I've been that girl too. You know, I talk a lot about my past. And if you read my book, Toxic Ex Chronicles John, then you know all about the shit that I went through. And the story's not even done. I just have like 2 more parts to go. But anyway. Oh, links are always in the description for my Instagram and for where you can buy my books, all that in the description. But so I basically spent my whole 20s in toxic relationships to narcissists. That's what I'm realizing. I'm like, all my 20s was just spent in bad relationships, and I didn't really know myself, and almost like I was trying to find myself in those relationships. And I just wanted love so bad. I remember feeling like that. That's really what it was. I didn't have the... Now I know. Then I didn't. I didn't know why I was in those toxic relationships then. I don't know. Just thought it was almost normal. But looking back now, I realized that I was just really wanting the love that I felt I didn't get. Really wanted the self-esteem boost that I feel I needed. It just felt good to have someone that was attractive like me and want me, even if they had a lot of toxic sides and toxic things to them, even if they abused me. It's like I normalized those things. But it wasn't normal for me to be liked by the attractive guy, if that makes sense. Like my last ex, I have 2. The one I wrote about so far is John. The last ex, as people now know, is Sebastian. That one is... I don't want to say the most toxic. They both were toxic shit. But that was my most recent relationship. And after that, you know, I really set myself down. And I realized I need to do some healing. Something needs to happen. Like, this happened again. And I thought for sure it was going to be different with him. But looking back now, ain't no way in hell that relationship was going to be different. But I was just really, really wanting love and really wanting the attractive guy to want me because I never had that. And it would have made my self-esteem boosted. It's just, and then the love bombing in the beginning. It's hard to, like, not fall for that. It's hard to not. That's why I have so much compassion so much compassion for women that's been through that, and they're in those trauma bonds and toxic relationships, and they're stuck. And it's because they're stuck in how it was in the beginning, that love bomb. They saw a glimpse of what they really wanted and needed. It's like somebody dangled it in front of them and then suddenly pulled it away, and they're like trying to get that back. Not to mention, like, I would say, if you had like a rough upbringing, but even if you had a decent upbringing, if you just never got the guy, was never that girl, never the one to be liked, or never the one to be even loved, even if there wasn't good love, the best love, no matter what your background was, I'm realizing now that if you've always wanted to feel that and someone make you feel that way, you're going to be stuck in it. And then when it all ends, it hurts the worst when it all ends. I feel like for me, it's because it's like, damn, I was so close to feeling good about myself and having a relationship and having that. I was pouring all my love into this person, hoping it would yield, the relationship that I've always wanted, the love that I always wanted. And it was a lot of codependency. So if your background sounds anything like this, girlfriend, and everybody else on YouTube, you can make it through. You can come out different. It's a lot of work, but here, when I say a lot of work, I want you to think of it as like, it doesn't feel so heavy and feel like a lot of work when you look at it as you learning to love yourself. That's how I started looking at it. I started looking at it as like, okay, the more I'm understanding and knowing about myself, the better I'm feeling about myself. The better I'm having that compassion and understanding for myself. And now that I'm at where I'm at, that compassion has turned into me, healing my inner child, which is what was really wrong in all those bad relationships, is that I was like loving to my inner child. My inner child was picking and doing the dating, basically. An inner teenager even, maybe. And so I didn't have the compassion that I always needed from my environment and others. And so I started giving it to myself after those relationships, because after I realized something seriously needed to happen, because I still wanted love. That's one thing that I would say here also. It's like, when you're always open for love, even if you've been hurt, even if you've been through it all, I was always feeling like I was open for love. Like I still wanted it. I still believed in it. I didn't let some guy that didn't know shit about love or wasn't really ready for it or ready for someone like me, get me down and make me miss out on something so wonderful, like a healthy, good love. I wasn't going to let that happen. And it's like, I didn't give up. So that's what you know what? That's love saved me. And so let love save you. If you're watching this and you see that it's titled, dating after toxic relationships, or if it says dating after heartbreak or anything like that, that means you do want to get back out there. And so I just let love lead. I let love save me. I let love push me through my healing, because I knew how beautiful it could be. Don't ask me how I knew. I don't know. It's just a feeling. Love is beautiful. It was just a feeling. And so that's what kind of pushed me through. It's me still wanting that. And wanting that healthy relationship. And wanting, I guess, I dreamed about love when I was a young kid. I am a Pisces sun. And that was my escape when I was younger. I did not have the best upbringing. It was some good and some bad. If you watch my Healing My Inner Child podcast, I talk a little bit more about that. But I realized that healing my inner child is what basically pushed me on into really wanting love still, because of how I was loving myself, if that makes sense. So if you stay open for it, stay open to feeling the love you always dreamed about, and stay open to having your dreams come true. If you dream about love, or just stay open to wanting that. Like if you've seen healthy versions of it, maybe on Instagram, social media. Now, I know they say not to look at it as relationship goals, and I wouldn't say that, but look at it as a way to still believe in love. Look at it as almost like it's a fairy tale, meaning that you don't know their story for real, but you're seeing examples of it. Even if it's a movie, a romantic movie or anything, I'm seeing examples of it, and that's all it took for me to realize that I can have it too. It's just I gotta be ready for it. And so I want to get into how it is dating for the relationship you want versus dating for the relationships that you're used to. I want to get into that. We're going to move into that. And I would say, you know what? I want to start with how you know if you're ready. The one main thing that I would say is that how you know you're ready is not if you're fully healed. I would say if you don't feel any bitterness towards your ex, any type of bitterness or hatred. If you feel that, that's going to show on your face, and it's going to show your outer appearance. It's going to show in how you carry yourself. It's going to be in your aura, and you're going to carry that into people and have that skepticism when it comes to love. So you have to have healed through that, but being fully healed, I'll get more into it in a minute. But another way you can tell is if you don't have that bitterness and you don't believe that all of the men are the same. And feel free to use whatever pronoun you want to use here, by the way. But I'm going to be saying men because I'm heterosexual. That's my experience. And you can use whatever you want to use. But now that I got that out the way. So, is you have to believe in love in order for it to happen. And that doesn't mean you just have to be open to it happening, I would say. And not think that all men are the same. Like some people I'll see, like your subconscious and your conscious have to match. Some people I see will say they want it, but then be skeptical about it. And with them being skeptical about it, it shows when they get to know someone. And it's like they're thinking that maybe, oh, if I get to know someone and make them jump through these hoops or make them this or make them that, then I'll know if it's real or not. And no one deserves to be put through that. You wouldn't want to be put through that just because your exes didn't believe in love, so they had you proving yourself. So it's like you can't become like the people that have hurt you. So you do have to heal that. And I will say that you may not know that you're that way until you date again. Some of these things you're not going to come up for you until you actually date. Like if you're sitting by yourself all alone and you're healing through your shit and whatnot, you are not going to know how you are in relationship unless you actually try to be in one or you actually date. I do want to make that clear. So if you want to try to date, try it. But be careful with it and make sure that you assess yourself throughout it. That's what I would say I started doing. And let's get into like one more way before I get off track. Another way you can tell if you're ready for a relationship or to date again is if you are not afraid of getting hurt. And I'm not saying that you have to be, you don't have, okay, here's what I'm trying to say. There is a possibility that when you date again, that you may be hurt again. That's just a possibility. You have to be prepared to work through that as well. And the reason why I say work through it is because you can find out more things about yourself. It's like I consider dating to be collecting data. Each step of the way, each person you're with, you can collect some type of data from it. So if you go in with that mindset that you know you want love and you know you want a healthy relationship and you're dating to see, you know, how you are at it, how you are in a relationship, what you want, what you don't want, then do so. But I can say it's okay to take a break. I took a break after a disappointment to just take time to reflect. I took like a month or so break. So don't be afraid to date and don't be afraid to break as well, to just reassess yourself, because love ain't going nowhere. It's what I'm telling you. Like, the one for you is not going to get away. You're not going to run out of time. None of that is going to happen. You can't think like that as well, because you don't want to rush through this. If you rush through this, then you're never going to be ready for love. Think about it. If all you're doing is just rushing and rushing because you're trying to get it, you're constantly, like, basically fucking up each relationship or a thing you get in and try to date. So that's just prolonging it because you won't take your time. You get what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I started to realize as well. And so now that we know how you're ready to date, those are just like the top things. Because there's not really a indicator just pop up for you and say, I'm ready to date. It's not like that. It's just you have to kind of like get out there and look and see how you feel. And you have to always stay in tune with how you feel. That's what I'll say. But those top 3 things, like if you're any kind of bitterness, if you're not open to love, and if you are still afraid of being hurt, you're not quite ready. Get your mindset right around those things. Because you don't want to get out here also and, well, you know what? It's okay. I'm going to say, you know what? I almost said the wrong thing. You don't get out there and make a mistake and date someone wrong or something. But yes, you do. And the reason why I say yes, you do is because you're going to learn from it. That's how you collect the data. So let's move right into how it's like dating. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you how it was like for me, and you can see if you relate. And I'm going to say, basically how it is dating after that. And trying to date for what you want and not what you had in the past. So, I will say, I had an anxious attachment. Well, I had it definitely in those relationships because they made me anxious. But I realized I was also a little anxious when it came to meeting someone. So that part of me still hadn't quite slowed down or calmed down. And I also think that I was getting too excited over the guys that I was just physically attracted to. And just having someone that I'm physically attracted to like me just made me forget every goddamn thing else. It made me forget my standards. And so I had to learn to navigate through that as well. And I had to learn to just calm down and know that love is not going anywhere. And so when you're dating, it's important to collect the data as you go. And it's important to also reassess things as you date. If you feel like you're still anxious, like for me, I felt like that I was still a little anxious. So I had to stop for a minute and come back into myself and figure out, okay, what is this? Like, I'm still attaching too early. And when you attach too early, that's when the relationships can end up going bad. Because it's like you're attached to them and you're not even trying to look and see if they're meeting your standards. You're not even paying attention to how they make you feel. You're just, going with how you feel about them only. And if you're going by how you feel about them, that means your sight is on them, on pleasing them. And you're not even paying attention to how they're actually making you feel. And you're not even paying attention that they're not meeting your standards. It's like you're just so focused on having someone. So that's when I say, okay, it's time to stop. But it's going to happen when you date. Like, even if those guys don't just do you like your exes did, it's still, you're going to still find yourself, dating the same way. But what I've learned is that when I knew I wanted to date better quality guys, I realized that I was still somewhat anxious, but those better quality guys, they're going to reject you. And when they reject you, you have to be ready for that as well. And so the rejection part is a big part that you have to learn happens in dating. And you're going to reject people. Like, the old you may have not been used to rejecting people. But when you get into, your self-esteem is a little bit higher. You're kind of almost there, but not quite. You're going to realize that the rejection is going to happen. And so you have to learn how to deal with that and realize that it's not really meaning something's wrong with you. It's just meaning that it's not compatible. You're not compatible. And you don't want someone that's going to stick with you knowing they don't want you and just basically string you along. That's like it happening with your exes all over again. And I can say that a few times I saw myself almost recreating the same damn relationships that I had just got out of and was heartbroken in. Like, and you'll see it happen too. Like, damn, I think I'm about to do it again. And that's when you have to realize that, okay, I'm almost there, but I'm not quite. That's how I started looking. Like, I'm almost like, because I was like, I knew that, you know, I seen the red flags and I knew, but I was still trying to date. And this so happened, those guys just weren't narcissistic or anything, so they would cut it off. So, and you see how it goes? Like, you're basically paying attention to every step of the way. And you're giving yourself grace and compassion as you're learning. Because think about it, if you've never been in a healthy relationship, you've never really, you know, you may have not seen what it looked like. You may not know what it looks like. You may not even know what you really want. You may have, and you may be actually growing. And as you start to grow, what you want starts to change. And so you're probably just getting used to all of that. So allow yourself grace and compassion here. And you cannot rush this process. Rushing the process is just going to make it take longer. And some next things I want to say. What my healing journey consisted of after those heartbreaks and trying to date again. For me, I started reclaiming my time. And reclaiming my time meant I started getting back to me. Because I realized that a lot of me was just all about pleasing who I was in a relationship with. And since they were so toxic and they were narcissistic, they ate it up. Like, that's what they were looking for. Someone that they can use. Someone that was all about them. Because they're selfish. And so reclaiming my time meant that I started being selfish. And I started pouring into me. I started, you know, just tending to me. And I started putting that more into my dating life. So the more I was doing it alone, the more I started putting into my dating life as well. And so by that time, I got to where I had learned how to spot people that didn't want long-term commitment or didn't want anything serious. But I didn't know how to listen to my intuition and just walk away. What I was doing is still thinking, well, maybe it's different, maybe. So I'm saying you're going to be learning all this. You have to have a lot of compassion for yourself during this process, girlfriends. I can't say that enough. Like, it's not going to be easy, but it's doable. So please don't give up on it. Just know that it's a process. And it's not just going to happen overnight. I can say that, let me get back to my healing journey. I'm getting off track. Stop it, Kindall. I started also learning to prioritize my own needs and wants. So me learning to make my needs and want a priority meant not settling so much when I was dating. And what I mean by that is that in the past, I didn't really know what I wanted or needed, to be honest. But I soon began to learn. I just knew I wanted to be loved and feel loved. But I didn't know how to go about getting it. And so you may not really know how to go about getting what you want. So after being through all of that, I started taking note of the things that I really wanted and needed. And I would pray on them. And I would meditate on them even. You know, I just really kept it in my head. And so when I started dating, even though some of the guys, you know, I knew had red flags, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, you know what? If they can't give me what I need, I'm going to have to move on. Or I would, and I remember one time I put all my eggs in the one basket with this one guy, and it ended up not working. So after that, I vowed to myself to never do that again. And I took a break after that. And I remember that I started dating multiple. Like, say if I'm dating someone and they start to like slack off or start to be a little bare minimum, dated somebody else. And I felt like that was me putting my needs first and my wants and what I deserve first. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to wait around on you anymore. And I'm not going to wait around on one person that act like they like me. And then the next day they kind of act like they don't and be wishy-washy. I wasn't doing that anymore. I learned to stop doing that. No matter how much they act like they like me, I'm not going to be on someone's back burner and they call whenever they feel like it or whenever. Because that's not going to lead anywhere. So I would date multiples. And when I say multiples, maybe like 2 or 3 that I'm talking to. And you don't have to sleep with all of them just because I feel like that wasn't going to be included until I was in a relationship. And I'm not going to be in a relationship with you that fast. You know, I'm going to date, and I learned to date and talk to and take my time with it. And so that's really what it's about, is learn to take your time as well. What I want to get into next with the dating process, I will say I somewhat faked it till I made it. And this can be true for some things, like faking it till you making it. For this, what I mean is like, I knew that I was someone still anxious and really wanted a relationship with someone, and really, you know, if someone acted like they liked me in the beginning, I knew that I was like super excited on the inside. But if I felt like I was a burden to them and they weren't really calling, you know, even though I had this excitement running through me and I was hoping that they would be the one, I started looking at it as like taking notches off, like, okay, maybe they're not, maybe they're not. Instead of me trying to put more into it, I learned that that is like, I don't want to say a turn off. I just learned that I didn't like that when someone, because I dated someone in my day after a toxic relationship that was trying to do more and more to make me like them, and I didn't like it. And so I'm here to tell you that try to flip your mind around this. Like, flip your mindset. If someone you're dating and talking to, like, that's why I say fake it till you make it. Like, I may have been anxious and like them, but if I see that they're slacking off, acting like they don't really want to date me, not calling me, not asking to go on another date, I'm not going to sit around and wonder if I'm doing something wrong, why they don't like me. Well, you know what? I did wonder, like, hey, why they don't like me? But I never answered the question. I never told myself it's because of this or that. I will admit some things I kind of brought up about myself. Like, I bet it's because I'm, you know, plus size or whatever. But I wouldn't say I let it break my spirit. I had the thoughts, but I more so tried to work on healing them instead of actually trying to do what I used to do and just give and put more and more into it and try to, like, you know, chase them. So that's what I mean by faking it till you making it. It's like, you know, to do better and you're trying to actually do better even though you're not quite used to doing better. So that's another part of it, dating after. It's kind of like faking it till you making it, and as you go on and on, you get better and better. And what I also would like to add is that, you know, after being in those relationships and being hurt and whatnot, turn that hurt into your wisdom. That's another step that I did. I turned, even after the people that I dated, each time that something didn't work out or each time I was hurt or disappointed, I turned it into wisdom to figure out, okay, how can I add this to my character, so to speak, and add the experience and add what I know and add to my wisdom. And so if you do that, instead of looking at how something is wrong with you, if you're trying to dwell on, you know, I'm not good enough, I couldn't make it, it wasn't working, and this and that, instead of dwelling so much on that, it's realizing that it's not about you not being good enough. It was more so about that connection just not being meant. And once you start putting your mindset around that and realize that you don't want anyone that's not really for you, that doesn't really fit with you. You don't want what you had in the past, to where you felt like you were always trying to force it to work, or where you always felt uncomfortable, unsafe. You know, I realized that I knew I didn't want that. Even though deep down inside I was ready to be anxious with someone. But I knew I couldn't be that girl anymore. And so that's, once again, what I mean by faking it till you making it. And as you move on, I will say that you may meet someone that's healthy. And let me talk about how it is to date someone that's healthy, and to move into a relationship when it's healthy, and to know when it is, and to actually want it. So that's something that I realized, that yes, I wanted healthy, but I had to get used to wanting it and feeling it. And let me explain. So if you're like used to a lot of chaotic relationships, or you're used to love bombing, someone like just, you know, boosting your self-esteem up, with a bunch of love bombing, a bunch of compliments, a bunch of that, someone healthy is going to feel different because they're actually really genuinely into you and not just boosting you up with compliments. They actually want to know you. And so you're going to think they're not really that into me. But it's not true. And so you may be used to making someone making you feel a certain way. And that healthy person, that someone that's out for something real, it's going to be a lot different. And you may not be used to it. But I can say that even with you trying to heal and work on yourself, you can still be in a healthy relationship. And the way you do that is by, as long as you're self-aware and you're working on yourself and you're healing and you're working on things and you're open enough to realize that someone can really like actually love you for you. And that's what was a big part for me, is realizing that, you know, someone, if I want that healthy love, it's going to take someone actually loving me, for all that I am. And that's something that you have to realize as well. Like in your past relationships, if they were toxic or it was a bad heartbreak and you was the one doing all the work, it's like realizing that you don't have to love hard and that you can just have someone like you, and you have to trust that. You have to be open and ready to trust that someone can actually just think you the shit because you're who you are. And yeah, that's one major thing I say that you have to be prepared for when moving into a healthy relationship. And what I want to talk about also is being in a healthy relationship and actually still doing healing work. Like, I want you to know that you will do more healing in your healthy relationship, or when you're getting to know someone that's healthy and better than what you've let go before. Something that's new on a different level. And you have to be prepared to see yourself, because you may have been used to only seeing what they were doing wrong. But now you're actually you're in a relationship with someone that doesn't have a lot of shit wrong with them, and because they're healthy, and you may see some reflections of you back, and you have to be prepared to actually work on those things if you want to be in a healthy relationship. And I'll admit, you may mistake it and it may not work right away, or you may have to move on. It may be a breakup, but that's okay. You are learning. I want you to look at the dating journey. It's like you're learning. It's not going to just happen overnight right after that toxic relationship. And you're not going to just find someone just like that. Now, depending on where you are in your healing journey and if you're actually doing the work, you can. I met my now husband the same year I broke up with my last toxic ex. But that's because during that time, I was really working on myself. I was dating and using it to collect data, and I was no longer trying to hold my self-worth so close to the people that I was dating. And because I was learning to put more into myself and just learning and just growing more and more. And so that's why I say it's so important to take all the dating people you dated and all of that and just use it as some type of data about yourself, to learn about yourself so that you can grow. And you will basically rely on that growth and that wisdom and all of that you've learned from each time of you dating to apply to when you are in the healthy relationship with someone that you consider the one. And so that was a major piece of it. It's just understanding that it was going to be a process. But in my time, I really was doing a lot of healing, and I just happened to meet him. If it's a year or two from the last time, even 3 years, even longer, it's okay. I don't want you to feel like that you have had to have met someone that quickly, because everybody's journey is different. If you're looking for someone to, complement your life, then it's going to take time. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen as quick as it did for me. I feel like I honestly just got lucky, and I took a shot on him. It's nothing special that I did, or nothing special that was like, oh, I did this extra healing thing, so you got to do it, and you can find someone too. It was just the right place, right time, and I was just ready for it. And I will say this, another big part that I want to throw in before I forget. I remember when I started talking to my now husband, when we kind of made it official, like after a month or so, and we posted our first thing on Facebook, he had like one or two women that kind of came after him and was like, dang, I thought, so I guess that's over with for me and you and this and that and all of that. And he was like, and we was just laughing about this the other day. He was like, those girls were hardly giving me the time of day. They were so busy. I said they were probably, from one, not ready for a good guy. Because I told him if I had met him a year or so before, I would not have dated him. And I said they're also probably, thinking that they have to act like they don't want to talk to you and act a little aloof and not be so quick to text and call. So I want to also talk about that because those girls missed out on someone that ended up being a really great guy. And I may have done that before too, but I know the guy from my past that I passed up on was a good guy. I just didn't like him like that, and I tried, and it was forcing it, and I didn't feel it. Some good guys you may not like, and that's okay. But what I was getting at is like, you have to date for the guy you actually want. Don't date the guy that you think that is only out there, or the guy you think you can get. Like, you think you have to be aloof and standoffish and not hardly talk and text because you don't want to be clingy. All those exes or whoever that said that you were too needy because you wanted more compassion in relationship, affection, and you wanted reassurance and all of that because they made you feel insecure and whatnot. Those guys were more likely emotionally unavailable, or had an avoidant attachment, or were just afraid, or they just didn't want what you want. Nothing is wrong with what you want. If you want affection and all of that stuff, okay, that is perfectly fine. Keep on wanting that. Keep on being a good woman so that you can get the man that you actually want, not the one that you're trying to walk away from. Like, why keep dating like you're dating emotionally unavailable guys? If you want to be close with someone, if you want an intimate relationship, if you want affection, if you want a healthy love and all of that, you have to be yourself and you have to show interest, and it's okay. You have to be willing to be open and vulnerable and transparent. And that's the same way that the guy is going to be. If you are too afraid to do that, you may not be ready to date, or you may not be ready for the healthy relationship like you think you are, because you maybe are only used to just pouring all your love and just to have someone actually have interest in you. Or you may be afraid to show interest. You may be afraid that they're going to hurt me again. They're acting too interested. This too good to be true. I don't know about them. It's unfair. You may not be quite ready, or you may not just like them. It could be either or. That's when it's time to collect some data from that and keep it moving. The collecting data is like the most important part. Like, as you date, you can't just keep on, because you're going to just push it further and further away. You got to take time to reflect and collect data from it and see, like, I know I did it with each person. And I think that's why I met someone as quick as I did, because I really took the time to, one, stop and learn from all I've been through, and even the people that I dated in between after that. And I also never, ever gave up on wanting love. That was like the end goal, because it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. I was always open and ready for that. And so I was always working on that. And I also really got serious about what I wanted. And me getting serious about what I wanted, it's like I had this attitude of like, okay, these are my standards. If they can't meet them, they can't meet my needs, it is what it is, and I just have to move on. But I'll be honest, I didn't know how to quite move on unless they stopped talking to me. So what I did, I matched the energy. Now, some people be like, don't match energy, just leave. But I'm just keeping it real here. You may not have quite learned how to just say, I don't want this, ain't gonna work out no more. But you can match the energy, and that means not pouring more into it than what they are, because you're trying to get them to come close to you. It means you stop that, because it should be just like, consider this is you, this is him, and you're moving closer and closer. But if he stops, you don't fill in that space and try to jump in there and like, hey, you supposed to like me, what's going on, call me, yeah, that's and that. Because for one, if it's a healthy guy or somewhat better quality guy, he's just gonna be like, I don't want that, and break up with you or reject you and say this ain't gonna work out. But if it's a narcissist, which sometimes you can't tell or whatever, they're gonna look at that as like, oh, I got control of her. She's coming in close and I'm just sitting here. I ain't doing shit else. And she all over me. So let me use this then. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say you have to fake it till you make it and just, match their energy. If you can't quite break it off and be like, I don't want this no more. Or if you feel like that, maybe you guys have been dating. Like, say if you have been going on dates and he wants to keep taking you out on dates, but it ain't going anywhere. Or, he's maybe just trying to hook up. Or, some women were like, that all he want to do is hook up after every date. Shit like that. Then you may have to call it off. But if they're just kind of in the background, barely calling and all that shit, and you don't know how to really say, hey, breaking it off, at least match the damn energy. Don't try to put more energy into it. So I did do that, but I remember when I met my now husband and it was starting to get serious, I just simply sent him a text. The other guy I was talking to was like, it was nice getting to know you, but I've met someone else that I want to take serious now. And I texted, and I knew he didn't really care because it was like a thumbs up. I knew he didn't really care, but it was okay. I just thought I would say it because we would text every now and then. So I just wanted to clear that up and move into something healthy, all the way right. So another thing I want to touch on is being scared of the healthy relationship, or being scared to move forward, or being scared to just, really allow yourself to fall. So here's what I feel like it is. In the past, when you were heartbroken, in the past, if you're in a toxic relationship, you probably did not give it enough time to build up. It probably started out instantly with love. Instantly moving fast. So there was no slow build. It was just quickly. And it was also quickly. That means it has nowhere to go but down. If it's in the beginning, it's just going straight up. And it's just like, oh, this and this. And we are so close. And it's moving very fast. And everything feels so great. It's going to go straight down. And then maybe back up a little bit, straight down. It's going to do this. So, you have to take your time and not attach to just someone potentially taking away your singleness or loneliness or someone liking you and wanting you. You can let that feel all great and all that, but you have to remind yourself back in your head, like, I still want to get to know them. Because I want to make sure before I consider a relationship with them that they are someone that I can be in a relationship with. So that means even if whoever you're dating may be trying to love bomb you again, because I don't care what anyone says, like, you can be just everything and still attract narcissists. You can be fully healed and all of that, have high self-esteem. You'll attract all types of people. But who you are is what matters, because what will happen is that you can take your time even if they're trying to rush. And I guarantee you, once you start setting boundaries, saying, hey, I don't want you just popping up in my place, or hey, I'm going to be able to be on the phone all the time, because, narcissists love to move fast. So if you're slowing down and say, hey, I don't want you to come to my place just yet, or, hey, I'm not ready to have sex with you yet, or hey, I'm not ready for dinner at my place yet, I'd rather not do that. You have to be brave enough and assertive enough to stand up for what you want. And that means you may risk, quote unquote, running them off. But you can't run off someone that's for you and not trying to manipulate you. So, one thing I noticed about dating a healthy guy is that when you set the boundary, it was no big deal. That means that they continue to have the same, to actually date you with the same interests and consistency and persistency. None of that never slacked up. They didn't change or say, act like that your boundary was an issue. So, the main thing is to understand what you need, understand your boundaries, understand your standards, and not be afraid to put them forth, and not be afraid to possibly run someone off. That's what I had to start getting in my mindset, because I had to realize that I'm not running off a good partner. I'm not running off someone that was ready to meet my needs. If you're sitting there feeling afraid to speak up for what you need, and afraid to stick to your standards, afraid to have your boundaries, afraid to be yourself, if you feel all sorts of fear and you're not speaking up for yourself, that's not a person that you're going to feel safe with. That's not a person you can have a healthy relationship with. And you're going to just recreate the past all over again. But the only difference is that if he's a decent quality guy, then he's not going to, you know, run you over like all the others maybe did. But you're going to be in a relationship where you're not getting your needs met. And you're going to feel uneasy the whole time. So now that I've talked about that, I want to move into how I had to learn to speak up for my needs in my health relationship. So like I said, say if you are with someone that's healthy and you are used to not being able to speak up for your needs. And I had that fight or flight response very badly when it came to talking about what I need and what I wanted. And I would be very passive aggressive or tell myself it's not going to work out and I'm ready to break up and all of that. So that's also fear. So if you have that set of fear, that type of fear, I want you to try saying what you need. Just try it. Like me, I know how hard this may be if you're not used to speaking up for what you need and being assertive. So for me, since he was a healthy guy, I started, when I was dating him and then was in a relationship, I started seeing what it was doing to him with me just being passive or breaking down, and how he was really just there and really wanted me to open. He was showing me, I'm safe, but what's going on? Why you can't? He could not understand me at all because he is just safe, healthy person. Different than anybody ever been with. Even different than how my parents treated my childhood. But here I am, afraid to speak up for what I need. So I just started slowly trying it. And once I realized that it was safe to say, you know, hey, I feel this way when you did that. I felt that way. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry. And it was just like, I can do that? And so that's, I say you will heal in relationships. So you have to understand that in order for you to know someone's safe, it's like you almost have to like test them out, so to speak, or speak up for yourself or what you need. And you will start, once you start to feel safe with yourself and safe with speaking up for yourself and not worrying about what they're going to say back to you and not worrying about if they're going to meet the needs, just saying it because you're trying to see if this is a safe space. And if you can do that, the sooner you know, the better. Then you'll realize that, okay, you can heal in this and this is a healing environment. And you'll start to heal even more because you're speaking up and you're speaking your needs out. And you'll see yourself doing it in every part of your life. And so that was a major, major, major thing for me, is learning to do that. Is to be assertive about my needs. So if you're finding yourself afraid to do that with people that you're dating and talking to, then you may, either they're not safe or they're making you feel unsafe, or either you're just not quite ready, because you're going to have to know how to speak up for what you need in order to get what you need out of the relationship and not make it where it's solely about them and pleasing them. That's what it's like dating after a toxic or bad relationship or a heartbreak. And it's like, say if it was just even a regular heartbreak, you have to understand that you got your back. And with you having your back and using yourself, it's like your safety net now. So that in case you are hurt again, that you got you. And so that means speaking up for yourself, being assertive and saying what you need, putting standards and boundaries. And the right ones will stay. The one that just can't seem to meet your need, it'll just fall away. And that's what you want. Speaking of being in healing relationships or healing in safe spaces and realizing that you can do so and be different, it's almost like pulling your shadow self out of the shadows and realizing that you don't have to survive anymore. You can thrive because you're in a healthy, safe space. Someone that is actually ready to make you feel safe. Being in that healing relationship is, I want you to understand that you will be triggered and you will have trauma still. And it's not that a healthy relationship is meant to like take you away from all of that. I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize, is that a healthy partner and an actual partner means that you will be still triggered, still have triggers, because life is still happening. And it won't only be from them unintentionally, but it's just going to come up because your body remembers that trauma. Your body remembers what it went through. It's almost like PTSD. And when it comes up, I've learned to self-regulate it, and then you'll have to slowly start to do that. And if you have someone that's patient and ready for you and actually wanting to be with you and love you and care for you, they will continue to show you that they're a safe space. Because they'll see that you're continuing trying to really work on yourself and that you're not really a bad person, that maybe you have some triggers that you're working through, but you have to be aware of those triggers. And that's what I would do. Like, if something would come up and it confuse him, after I had time to think about it, I come to him like, you know what, this is how I'm feeling. Because it's like, I got tired of seeing him so hurt and upset over me when I know that he was just trying to be a good guy to me. Because he was a healthy, good guy. He was not like the past guys. And I realized that it was like, I was bringing my heartbreak and my issues into it. But I didn't know how to regulate that. So, being in a healthy relationship, you're going to learn how to regulate it. And the sooner you learn and the sooner you be self-aware of it, like you can come healing in a relationship. You don't have to be healed, but you can come healing. And so I just worked on it within the relationship. And he was a safe space to do so. And so I did like a big bulk of my healing in my healthy relationship. And so I want you to have that. I don't want you to lose that hope that you're just damaged goods, so to speak, or that it's never going to happen for you again. You're never going to find love again, or that, they've broken you beyond repair. It's okay. I understand if you are hurt from that. But speaking of that hurt, I want you to understand that no matter how you were hurt in your past relationship, if it didn't work out, you really wanted it to, even if it was like a decent type of love, no matter what kind of love it was and it didn't work out, I want you to look at it as like that not working out putting you closer to someone that's just for you. And I want you to know that there is more than just one person for you. Look at them as like experiences, not like something that sometimes it's just not meant to last forever. In that case, understand that there's someone else that can come in their place, someone else better for you. You're going to grow a little after that, and then you can have love again. Like, take your time, of course, and heal as much as you can from that, but understand that moving forward, this is not pulling you away from love. Like, since that didn't work out, love is not going to happen for me now because there was my chance right there. That was not your last chance. That's what I started really realizing, is that was not my last chance. Love can happen again and be even better than what you're letting go of. And so once you carry that mindset, it kind of helps the healing process a little better. Like, from that breakup, like, the breakup's gonna hurt anyway because you're getting used to being without someone that you're so used to being with. If you want more on like healing heartbreak, specifically, I do have a video about that up as well. Healing heartbreak. That's a podcast under the Hey Girlfriend section. There's a podcast on healing after heartbreak. I would say check that out. This can go really hand in hand with this one. And understanding that after those past relationships and whatever, how they ended, just me realizing that I really wanted love again and having that fantasy still, even it was like, even, I wouldn't say fantasy, but I would say overall just having a healthy love to me was like the fantasy, I guess, so to speak. I stopped romanticizing the guy so much and acting on it, but I still knew that love was out there, and that wasn't my last chance, and that he didn't take all my chances away of having someone like, oh no, now I'm just screwed. Love is never gonna happen because he's gone now. It's over now. So having that mindset is going to keep you stuck because it's like you're thinking they took something from you. It's like you're thinking they have something that you still need in order to move on. So it's like you're holding on to it and you're like, I can't let go of it and I can't move forward because I need them in order to have what I want. And you have to understand that that's not true. Once you understand that it happened, it was great while it lasted, it's time to move on. Take it as a learning experience. Add it to your growth and wisdom. Get back out there again if you want to love again. And you want that healthy love. You're watching this because you're thinking, hey, I'm about ready to love again. When can I start dating? How do I date? And this is how you do it. So, what I want to close with, I think that's about all I got. I want to close with understanding about just love, period, and about, dating again after you've had your heart broke or you've been through toxic relationships, all of that, and you're trying to date in because you still don't want to give up. You still have some type of hope for it, and you still want to continue because you're never going to give up on love. Or you may have slowly started to give up and you're wanting it, but you don't know how. The main thing is just being open. And I want to say, once I surrendered control over when it'll happen, who it'll happen with, how it should happen, surrendered my fantasy of the perfect relationship and all, whatever it was, surrendering, just allowing what's good for me to come to me, and feeling and trusting that it will be good for me, and that I don't have to try to force it to be good for me, if that makes sense. And you don't have to force anything either. It's just surrendering and understand that you know what you want. You know what you're not going to tolerate anymore. Just know what you want. Once you know what you want, and you're not trying to recreate an experience with your ex, or you're not trying to date your ex or date someone that's a little better than your ex, just learn what you want for yourself without anyone tied to it, an ex or anything, and just learning what you need, what you want in your relationship, and then sticking to that. Whoever you're dating, you're sticking to what it is you want, and not settling because they got maybe one thing you want, and not settling thinking I'll be okay, or you're focused more so on what they want instead of on what you want as well. That's where the unhealthy attachment comes into place, when you're only solely focused on them. Meaning oh, I hope they like me. I hope they don't think this about me. I hope I can please them. You're just so anxious and worried about them. That dynamic is not going to work ever. And so you have to get real about what it is you want. Be open to it coming in any type of package, any type of way. I lost sight of, wanting a man that's a certain height, dress a certain way. None of that stuff is really important when you think about it. But for me, it really wasn't. Because that doesn't say anything about a person's character and how they're ready to show up and treat me. That's what I really started praying for. It's I want someone to show up and treat me just good. Someone that I can be attracted to, all of that. I just want someone to treat me good. And I had a list of the actual specific standards I wanted, what I was willing to go for or not. So once you have that in your head and you start moving forward with it, then it becomes not so hard. And to not give up on the dating process, I would say, say if you've dated so much and nothing's happening, don't be afraid to take a break. Because you don't want to lose your hope for love or give up on it, into where you're just, but you know what? Now that I'm saying that, if you're getting a little tired and you're not want to say you giving up, but you're just I don't know what else to do, surrender. That's kind of how I was getting to, because I was getting tired of trying it my way. I'm this ain't working. I won't say I gave up, but I was just fuck it. I'm surrendering. What's happening is going to happen. And I'm just going to go on these dates and we're just going to see. And that allowed me to naturally become more open, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So, try that. You tried everything else and you keep trying to force it. It ain't working. Because think about it. If you were in a toxic relationship, wasn't it mostly you just forcing it? Wasn't it mostly just force? So, if you want the opposite, take the force out. So, that's all I got for how it was for me dating after heartbreaks, dating again, trying to get back out there, knowing you're ready to get back out there. I hope you found something useful in here that can help you. Like I said, check out my other podcasts on here that can also help you. And I also have my Patreon, which is linked below in the description. On my Patreon, my girlfriend membership. It basically includes a whole bunch of other podcasts. I do my bonus content on there. And I do one-on-one mindset and intuitive coaching. My one-on-one mindset and intuitive coaching is basically me helping you through any kind of blockages you may have, using my intuitiveness to help you to understand where it's coming from and get into the root of it so that you can move forward, whether it's want to date again, get out of a toxic relationship, whatever it is. Because that's what I did on my healing journey and currently doing. But all of the things that I've healed through, that's what I've used. So I'm here to help you do the same. But that's all I got for this podcast episode, girlfriends. Until the next one, peace out.